Hey guys, welcome to day 5 of the Yoga Habit Challenge. If you've made it this far, good job, congratulations. This is most of the way there, so you're really doing great. So I just wanted to give you some kudos. Today the topic of our day of the Yoga Habit Challenge is our identity and stories. So stories that we tell ourselves in our head can really play a huge role in whether or not we can actually achieve our goals in terms of setting a new habit and starting a yoga practice. And this plays a really big way into our identity and the way we see ourselves. So I'm going to just tell you a few stories to explain this concept to you. So when I was in Australia, I was going to university. This was 4 years ago now. Oh, I don't even know. It's like ages ago now. So I decided to start practicing yoga at the local yoga studio. And I decided to make this change for myself because I could tell that I was not feeling my best. My sleep pattern was all out of whack. I've always faced mental health issues very off and on throughout my life. I go into this in my ebook, which you can find in your email. And I was just like, you know what? You really need to do something. You need to take action on this. And I ended up doing yoga for a whole month at the studio. It was a challenge. I did it in my journal and everything. And I was like, you gotta do yoga as much as you can for this month. Side note, I did end up straining my wrist from doing too many downward dogs during that month where I fell in love with yoga. So this has played into why I'm not making you do tons of active asanas during this challenge because I don't want any of you to hurt yourself. But anyway, I found that it was really big to decide, okay, I want to be someone who practices yoga regularly. And at that time I wasn't someone who did, and I was also adding into this challenge that I wanted to practice in the morning, and up until this time I had been staying up really, really late. My sleep pattern was really terrible, so it really was important that I rewired myself. I decided, no, I'm gonna be a morning person that does yoga regularly. And this was a big step for me. I had to make that decision that I wanted to be that person. And it wasn't that easy at first. And a few examples of the ways we sabotage ourselves in this way is we can tell ourselves, I'm just not flexible. I'm just not a flexible person. I'm just not a morning person, etc. And the issue with this is that that's applying that idea to our identity. It's not just saying, I'm not flexible right now. It's saying I'm not a flexible person, and it kind of feels very permanent, right? Like if we say that about ourselves. But the reality is that we have the ability to change that about ourselves. And I would argue, in the case of flexibility, that saying that you're too inflexible to do yoga is like saying you're too tired to sleep, because like you're gonna get flexible by practicing yoga. But anyway, that's beside the point. And another place this played into the stories we tell ourselves and identity is when I was studying in Japan. I was doing a study abroad semester, and I was feeling quite isolated, and I was really thinking about my life. I was thinking about, like, what do I want to do with my life? Probably a common thing we think about. You probably can relate, these moments of angst. But anyway, I was studying PR and social media at school and communications, and my life was very sedentary. I wasn't feeling very good. And I thought back to my time doing my yoga challenge. And I thought, okay, so I want to make yoga a big part of my life. I want to be a yoga teacher. But at that time, I hadn't really been doing yoga very regularly at all. And the idea of me being a yoga teacher just sounded outlandish. Because I was like, oh my gosh, Kimmy, you don't wake up early, you find it hard to be motivated, etc. And I was like, how could you be a yoga teacher? Like, it didn't like mesh with my identity, you know? Like, it just didn't feel right, because I was like quite a sedentary, website-y, internet-y person, bookworm, I don't know. It was just really off, like, people would say it was off left field for me as a person. But I decided, I knew how healing yoga was for me. I wanted to make it a big part of my life. So at that moment, when I was thinking about that, I decided I was going to research yoga teacher training. Because I'd gone to a meetup in Japan where a woman from the UK had been teaching a yoga class, and it really inspired me. I was like, I want to do that. So anyway, I want you to notice those times where you think, I want to do that. Even if it's like way further away right now, like it's not something you're going to achieve right away, just take note of those moments, because I feel like it's really important to be aware that these stories we tell ourselves about our capabilities and our identity, they're all moldable and changeable. And that brings me to the second part of this, which is stories that we tell ourselves. So I taught a yin yoga class, and a yin yoga class is where you hold the poses for quite a long time, and it's really relaxing. It's like to breathe into the posture, etc. And I'm more so a vinyasa or ashtanga teacher, so that's like a more dynamic style of yoga. So I was really nervous. I was like, I've always wanted to teach yin yoga, but I'm really afraid that I'm going to run out of poses halfway through the class, etc. And because of this reason, I had never signed up to teach a yin class, because I was just like, it's going to be really hard. I'm probably going to be bad at it. Yikes. So anyway, something came up last week where someone was like, can you please cover these classes for me? And I did the yin yoga, and it was funny because the opposite was true. The opposite than what I was thinking was true. I didn't run out of poses. In fact, it went by so quickly that I didn't even get to some of the poses, and one of the students told me that they really enjoyed the class. So this is all to say that this isn't always the case. I've also failed miserably at things I've tried, just so you know. But what I'm saying is that often these stories that we tell ourselves, there's this voice in our head when we try something new that will be very loud and vocal. It'll say, you can't do this is too hard, you're gonna fail. And that's always gonna happen when you're trying something out of your comfort zone. That's like a little bit too far out of your comfort zone, or even just one step out of your comfort zone. Your inner voice will get really, really loud. And I just want to tell you that that's normal, and that often when you just take that step while you're afraid, you just say, no, I'm not going to stay where I am, I'm going to do something new, you realize that that voice is actually lying to you, that it was all fear, and fear lies to you. So I just wanted to say that if you're afraid that you're not going to follow through with it, that it's not going to work out for you, that is a lie that your brain is telling you. You can definitely do it. You just have to decide that you want to. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean that you're not going to fail sometimes and that it's going to be moments of struggle. But it means that you can realize that those thoughts you have in your head about the thing that you want to do are just stories your mind is telling you. You don't have to believe all of them. And that identity, that awareness, I can be a yoga teacher. I can be someone that practices yoga. I can do whatever it is I want to do. That is an identity that you're placing on yourself. So the cool thing about this as well is that if you tie your habit to your identity, this is also talked about in Atomic Habits by James Clear, amazing book, do recommend. If you tie this identity, this like higher self, this version of you that you want to be, if you tie your habits to that person and you act as if you are that person, that makes the habits even more magical. That makes them have a really strong why behind them, and I think that makes them even more achievable. So anyway, yeah, that's basically the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted just to let you know that your identity is moldable. If there's a version of you want to be that seems ridiculous now, it could be your reality not that long in the future. If you just take one step at a time, one little habit at a time, you can get there. And that if you feel stories coming up about like why you can't do this, or why it's not possible for you, etc., or why it's going to be so hard and you're going to fail, then just remember that those stories will lie to you all the time, and that it's normal, and it means that you're trying new things and being very brave. So I just wanted to leave that with you today, and I would really love to hear from you. If this resonated, drop me a reply to this email, follow me on Instagram at Yoga with Kimmy. I always really, really love to hear from you. So happy practicing, and I'll see you tomorrow.